Hey, we're back with another third Saturday in October SEC West review breakdown of Media Days 2021. I'm Alabama Chris, your West correspondent, and today in the hot seat, we have Coach Mike Leach on the third Saturday in October show, your SEC tailgating podcast for the rest of us. Let's dive right in. First of all, we're going to hit up the fact that Coach Mike Leach, Aaron Brule, and Austin Williams were all there to represent the Mississippi State Bulldogs. They all did an excellent job. One of my favorite people in the world to hear speak, Coach Mike Leach, did a great job. Filibuster rating, give him a 2. He went right into the questions. 11 seconds from the time he hit stage to the fact that he said, I'm not a big opening statement guy, and said, okay, let's just open it up to Q&A. 11 seconds. Coach was like, I'm not dealing with this. I'm not preparing any of this stuff. I'm going to answer every one of these questions. And because of that, he has, I think, my lowest filibuster coach speak rating of the entire SEC West on Media Days. He just tells it like it is. And that's what I love about so many people right now in the SEC West, especially coaches. We've got Nick Saban in Alabama. We've got Mike Leach at Mississippi State. We've got Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss and Ed Orgeron at LSU. All four of those guys really are just going to kind of tell you like it is. I'm sure that they do a little spin, but for the most part, their personalities come up. It's a personality-driven division of the SEC, and I love it. I love it. But the other guys, folks like Brian Harsin, Sam Pittman, they're trying to build their culture. They're trying to rebuild their teams, and so it's obvious there's going to be more coach speak there because they have more to prove. And so we've yet to talk about Texas A&M, but we'll get there very soon next week in the third Saturday in October show. But so, you know, there are some things there to take away, especially when we're looking at Texas A&M and Ole Miss coming up next week. But getting back to Mike Leach, I love the guy. I love how off the cuff and how honest he is. He also is inspiring his team. Both Aaron Brule and Austin Williams had a lot of great things to say about Coach Mike Leach, especially heading into his second year. Again, so is Sam Pittman over at Arkansas. But Mike Leach he's cut from a different cloth of every coach that you're going to run into. And so he doesn't have to do a lot of that. We had a bad last season. We're going to make up for that kind of thing. He just like, it is what it is. Come on. So I really appreciated that about him. Uni rating or his suit game. I'm going to give Coach Leach a 4. I mean, again, the guy is not there to impress me or to impress you. He's going to say what he wants to say. He's going to wear what he wants to say or wear what he wants to wear. So that's why I gave him a 4. The style is not really there. Typical black suit with a matching tie to the university situation. It's kind of like what all coaches have to do. You wear your suit. And if the suit doesn't match your university, you got to make sure that the tie does. And so he had that going on. Aaron Brule, I gave a 6. His hair game was sharp. Just say it like that. Aaron Brule, I appreciated what he was bringing to the table. Also, Austin Williams, I give him a 6 as well. He was composed as he was speaking, but I give both the student athletes a 6 when it comes to their suit game. Again, I got to put it in there because I'm looking at them and I'm like, okay, what kind of message are you trying to send by the words that you say and even the way that you look? And so that's one of the reasons that I do this suit game and uni rating on every one of these. And I'm going to keep doing it throughout the season because I think that it means a lot. Even what you wear on the sideline. Okay, so for the players, it's always going to be your uniform. But for the coaches, they've got a little personality that they show. And I think it's important to pay attention to even those minute details. All right, so some memorable thoughts from Coach Mike Leach speaking. Essentially what he starts off with was saying that like we need normalcy and we need routine to be the best team that we can be. And last year, 2020, didn't give us any of that. It didn't give us normalcy. It didn't give us routine. And so if we're going to be the team that we can be and have that potential, we have to have both normalcy and routine to return. Someone asked him about Coach Bowden, who is battling, I believe, a deadly form of cancer, that Mike Leach had nothing but amazing things to say about Coach Bowden. Said that he was a tremendous person and a great example for all of us to follow. I think that is wonderful. I've heard so many glowing kind words from the coaches talking about Coach Bowden. And he's just one of those figures in college football that's going to live forever because of the impact that he's made, not only with his wins and loss totals, but also with the coaches that he mentored and brought up. And I think it's wonderful to leave that kind of legacy. So thoughts and prayers go out to Coach Bowden as he battles this sickness, this cancer, and would love to see him pull through. Although, from what I've heard, the prognosis is not good. So anyway, thoughts and prayers go out to him. Getting back, Coach Leach was asked about the playoff system, and he said something that was really interesting, and I love this. He said, I think that the 12 teams, the possibility of expanding out the college football playoffs from 4 teams to the possibility of 12 teams, he says a step in the right direction. But what Coach Mike Leach would like to see is 64-team playoff. And I think that would be amazing. I would just love to see what that looks like. Again, we have that in basketball every year. But how do you pull that off in football? I don't know, but it would be amazing to see something like that. So again, I have been for the last handful of years trying to think, okay, a 4-team playoff system, an 8-team playoff system, a 12-team playoff system. What is that going to look like? But spreading it out all the way to 64 teams, man, that could make for some interesting play. So I would love to hear in the comments, hear you respond. What would you do? Do you think the 64-team playoff system would work? And if it would, how would that look in a football season when typically you can only play 1 game per week? Maybe you can squeeze in 2 games a week if you played one maybe on a Monday or a Tuesday night, but then had your typical Saturday game coming up after that. I don't know how this would play off. I don't know if you would shorten the amount of in-division or in-conference play that each team would get in order to, if you're expanding out the playoffs to 64 teams, how in the world do you do that without having a 20-game season? Not sure, but I'm interested in listening. So I think it's fascinating. I would love to hear what you have to say as well. He said experience and availability of players caught up to Mississippi State after a good start to last year's football season. If we remember, I believe Mississippi State and LSU had an early season matchup where Mississippi State laid it on LSU. But then from there, it was kind of like a slow devolving of the rest of the season. And so it makes sense that Coach Leach would say that experience and availability of players of last year, with all of the confusion that last year was with COVID issues and the ability to be there, even being on campus or showing up for practices, everything last year was crazy. So it's going back up to that first comment that he made about needing normalcy and routine. So routine, normalcy, experience, availability of players were something that was working against Mississippi State last year. And so I hope that they can bring it all together this year. Again, regardless of what you think that the outcome of the division should be in the SEC West, I am appreciative when all teams can play at their level. Like when one player gets hurt, regardless of if it's of my team or the opposing team, I get sad because what I want to see is the best game possible, the cleanest game possible, everybody firing on all cylinders to really show who is the best team on a given Saturday. And apparently with the experience and availability of players that they had last year, that just wasn't going to happen. It's like the old saying, a high tide rises all ships. And so when everybody is doing better, we are all striving for an extra layer of greatness. And so I don't care if you come in first in the SEC West or you come in 7th, showing up every Saturday and really playing your heart out is the way to show if you're improving, if you deserve to be there, if you need to take a hike, whatever it may be. And so I appreciate all of that. And so I would love to see a Mississippi State who isn't really, 5, 6, 7 is the tail end of the SEC West is where they are assumed to end up at the end of this season. And that makes sense to me too, knowing everything else that's going on in the SEC West with the Alabamas, the Texas A&Ms, the LSUs, the Ole Miss is getting better. Brian Harsin trying to rehab the Auburn Tigers. So we'll see what happens. I want the best for the Mississippi State Bulldogs because that means that everybody plays better. I want the best for Coach Leach because he's an amazing coach and quite the personality. But we will see how he does. He says that actually he was really inspired, or his team was inspired by watching the amazing run that the Mississippi State Bulldogs baseball team had, that all the football team, that their practice field for the football team, or maybe their facilities for the football team, and where the baseball team plays is really close together. And so oftentimes guys would get finished with workouts or something like that and just walk right over and watch baseball. So it's a really, they've been cheering on that baseball team a lot from the football team perspective. And he said that he was inspired as well. He was asked if he was excited to play at Kyle Field this year, playing against the Aggies, Texas A&M. He said it was he's really excited about that. He says that it's one of the Carnegie Halls of football. There's only one Carnegie Hall, but here he's comparing them to maybe one of the hallowed places to play in college football at Aggie Field. He said the place is so big and it's so loud and it's so uproarious that he's excited to get back there. He was asked about vaccination stuff, like all the coaches were. He says, I'm letting the doctors handle the vaccination stuff. I have no idea what the vaccination rate is, which I really like that kind of curmudgeonly way that Mike Leach and some other folks like Nick Saban, they answer those questions. Like, I'm the coach. I'm not here to break down those kinds of things. Ask the doctors if you want to find out vaccination rates. And somebody else asked him if he had been vaccinated, and he said, regardless if I have or I haven't, I wouldn't tell you if I was or I was not. So again, I love Coach. Again, hey, let's go up and talk about not just his uni rating and his filibustering, but his humor. I give Coach Leach a 9. It's the top here. There was a lot of guys that brought a lot of personality, but nobody's going to top Coach Leach. Again, I'll give a coach, they're not known to be comedians up there on stage, but I'll give a coach 3 points if they make a joke and it connects with the audience. I'll give them 2 points if they just say something and the audience laughs. But if you're a Coach Leach, you've done that for that entire 30 minutes that you're standing up there. And so you have to start getting into percentages, because I'm not going to give him a 10, because he's not up there doing comedy. But man, you get past 8 or 9 up there, and it's Coach Leach being Coach Leach, and that personality goes a long way. Speaking of personality and other guys that don't seem to give a care if you care or not, he was asked about Coach Saban and the greatness of Coach Saban and what that means for the SEC and the SEC West in particular. And he says, yeah, Saban, he's great. But the SEC was known to be great before Coach Nick Saban arrived at Alabama or at LSU even. And so he said that even though Coach Saban is great, SEC's been great far before Nick Saban got here. And I tend to believe that. I think that it's amazing to see what Coach Saban has done for the Alabama Crimson Tide, especially being an Alabama fan. But the SEC has been great for a long time, which is why Bradley and I do this show talking about all of the SEC and not just our 2 favorite teams, even though the title of our show, Third Saturday in October, is named after when Alabama and Tennessee traditionally meet on the third Saturday in October. But we want to talk about all things SEC, because the SEC is amazing and worthy to be talked about. And that's why we're here today talking about the Mississippi State Bulldogs. So if you remember, at his former location where he was coach, he actually taught a class in the Pacific Northwest. And he was asked, what does he like better, teaching or coaching? And he essentially said, I like coaching more. If you get angry, there's more room to move around and get yourself, move it through your body. Also, you can swear more when you're on a football field versus in a classroom. And so I again, love the guy. I think that he is a great addition. All the Mississippi teams, Coach Kiffin, Coach Leach, they're a great addition to the SEC. And now with the idea of Oklahoma and Texas coming in next year, man, a lot of personality going on. And I feel like personality in the right way. Sometimes the college players don't get a lot of chance to show that personality because they're kind of told you're going to go and you're going to do your role, you're going to do your duty as a player. But stay out of trying to make comments that's going to make us as a team look bad. But so this is a lot like how TV is kind of a director's medium. Movies are kind of a writer's medium. The stage is kind of an actor's medium, so kind of thing. I feel like that the NFL is more player-driven, more player personality in the NFL. But at college football level, I feel like that really, when it talks about personality, you're looking at the coaches to build that culture for a team. And so people like Lane Kiffin, Nick Saban, Ed Orgeron, and Coach Mike Leach are great additions to that personality that is brought in for the SEC West and the SEC in general and the college football at large. So this is Chris Murphy, Alabama Chris, for the Third Saturday in October podcast, your SEC West correspondent, and along with my East correspondent, Bradley, want to say Third Saturday in October, we'll be back at you soon, and roll balls, baby.